Ready to go? All right, good morning. This is the Planning Commission meeting for May 14th, 2026. And so I'd like to invite you all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just confirm that the legal notices were all sent? Yes. Thank you. We still have a consent agenda on here, but we don't have one. All right, so we have public input. Anyone may step forward and share some input on any item that is not already on the agenda. You have 3 minutes. You step forward, introduce yourself, and share your concerns. Is there anyone on the Zoom? No. All right, we'll close public input. So 9:05 is our first hearing, so we have a couple minutes. Do we have anyone from the first agenda item that would like to speak to your project? You may come and sit up on the dais here. We have 2 chairs. Oh, yes. Yes, it is. Spina, yes.
I'm good at other things, though.
That's all right.
Okay. Stephen Profit, Profit Construction Inc., trying to,
Okay, hang on.
Are we starting yet?
No. We have to wait till 9:05 because that's when we said we were going to start. Got to start early.
I follow orders good.
And I have to announce the project first, so just.
I'm patient.
So our first project is consideration of a lake bed encroachment permit and variance for the Spina floating deck project PL 25-294, located at 8435 Palace Drive, Kelseyville, APN 044-501-25. So,
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Zoller and Commissioners. Michelle Iris, Senior Planner with Community Development, and beside me is Todd Abbott. He's the Water Resources Program Coordinator. This item is a little bit unique in that we co-present with Water Resources Department. We are requesting a continuance on this item to a date and time uncertain due to Water Resources needing a little bit more time on the analysis of this project due to some unique circumstances of the project site.
okay. So time undetermined, we don't have it, so we can't tell the applicant, give any sense of timing.
We're suggesting date and time uncertain just due to the Water Resources Director being out of the country until early June.
Okay,
And so we just don't want to get in the situation where we're continuing it and then potentially need to continue again.
okay. Do we
We want to hear discussion since everybody's here, or is that inappropriate?
I don't know, is that inappropriate to hear input or discussion?
That is up to the chair, though before you is a request for a continuance that perhaps the commission should consider first.
So move.
Second.
All in favor of continuance?
Aye.
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 I'm fine with, since
Though
everybody.
I didn't mean to imply that the public should not have a chance to speak on the request for continuance. That would still be public input before you take action.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. Okay,
Can we rewind?
Can I move to reopen the subject?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I move we reopen this item.
Okay, so we will.
Second.
There's a motion, yes.
Oh, we have to. All in favor of reopening? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so we will welcome the opportunity for any of the folks in the chambers or on Zoom to speak to this item.
I'd like to speak.
Go ahead.
Stephen Prophet, pardon me? Does it work? Can you hear me?
A little closer.
A little closer? Yeah, better? Okay. We do have the owners here and the neighbors regarding this issue. We've been working really hard to get this through. I know I've worked with Scott many times on this. I did a lot of things. I know that there is a 23.62 that states that, you know, and this area of the lake, there's only a few areas of the lake that have this radius and this problem that's creating, I don't know if it's the setback in time, but it says that when there is a 10-foot, actually there's 16-foot, but if there's a 10-foot, 80% or less, that they qualify for a zero setback, you know, on that. And that was basically given to me from a member of the Public Works. And, you know, I know there's an application to get this approved. I know there are a building permit and everything that should be required to do this. But I think this part of the lake, I mean, I don't even know if everyone has a variance there. As I looked over the CEQA and all that, there's a lot of people in violation, I believe, or don't have a variance. And the owners here have tried to do this properly and go through everything just to put in place. We're not doing this. It's a betterment for the lake. It's a betterment for the community. And we're just trying to upgrade something here with the minimalist solution, you know, that we need to do in proper channels. And I know we were brought up that there is a time frame on Permit Act, you know, and we've been at this thing for almost 11 months right now. And I'm just asking to see if the board will oversee and maybe approve this to where whatever we need to find to go forward, we'll do the building permit, we'll do the fish and game, whatever we need to do at that point, just to get this thing going and set. I know the owners are here from San Francisco, And it takes them, you know, that some are elderly and stuff like that, and it takes a lot for them to get here. And I'm just asking for a little bit of leniency and maybe, you know, cooperation to make this go. We're not gonna do anything that's out of line. We are gonna betterment the lake. We're gonna betterment the community there. It's gonna be safer. It's gonna be even a healthier environment in that portion of that lake. And there, you know, this dock's been here since 1983. I don't know any more about, you know, it could even be further back. I mean, and all I'm trying to do is see if we can maybe make this go through today, being that everyone's here. There's the neighbors that are here too that share that same location with them, that are supporting the efforts here. And if we can, you know, maybe consider, I would really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to step forward, and please step up and state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Just right there. No, right there, right there. You can you stand right there, sorry. Pointing in, that wasn't good directions.
Hi, I'm Nick Spina. I'm one of the owners of 8435 Palace Drive, and I just want to make it simple to you that I was told, we've had the property for over 20 years, and I was told from Scott, and before him I think it was Skip, I'm not sure, but that this dock was grandfathered in. I wanted to add on to the dock years ago, and they said absolutely not. You can only put in what is there because of the limitations. I said okay. So that's all me and Steve are trying to do, is replace the floating dock. It's 8 by 48. That's it. We're reusing the existing pilings. We're not putting any pilings in. We're not changing any dimensions. I'm confused why this is taking over a year to do. You know, he's talking about the betterment of the lake. We've got chipmunks under the dock. There's styrofoam floating away. The dock's in bad shape. We can't, you know, my mom's 84 years old. To go down the ramp, it's not safe. We're just trying to put a new dock, you know, a safer dock in. And like I said, the dimensions aren't different. There's nothing. He's actually taking the dock out, pulling it off the ramp, demoing it, putting a new one in that's, you know, plastic and fiberglass that's not, you know, bad to the environment.
If I may ask a question? My understanding is that it's actually, the dock that you want to install is actually narrower than the existing dock. The material we received said that the current dock is 10 feet by 40 feet, and what's being proposed is 8 by 48?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I'm not sure on the existing exactly. I think it's a little over, I'm not sure if it's 10 feet or a little over 8 feet. But the new dimensions are definitely smaller. They are exactly 8 by 48.
Well, it seems like an improvement to me.
Yeah.
The only question I have when I was looking at this was, in the past, when there's rough water, is it problematic? Does it bump into the other docks?
Oh no, there's existing pilings that we are attaching to.
It just looks so tight
But we're not
in there.
moving the pilings. We're not touching
Right.
the pilings or anything.
But
Yeah, the dock's been there for forever. I think in many parts of the lake, that would definitely be a problem. I think our cove is very, very smooth most of the time.
it's a tight curve, and that would be my concern, but the fact that there is an existing dock just makes me wonder if it's been problematic in the past.
Yeah, I've never had any issues with that at all.
Okay.
Commissioners, if I may, you have before you a request for continuance, which is different than actually hearing the project. So the comments the first one was addressing the request for continuance itself. This one sounds more like we're going into the project, which if the commission decides you'd like to hear it today, I would request that we start with our staff presentation.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the group? Can we, I mean, I understand it was a request for continuance. Can we override that, or is the input that we're waiting for critical to make the decision? Help us understand the nuance here.
I think that would be a question for the Department of.
Well, that's why I'm looking
Yeah,
at you
what
guys.
what is the the issue, or what is the reason for
Yeah.
for the requesting a continuance?
Yeah, if it's allowed per council and Director Turner, we're happy to give the presentation as it is and then identify the issues or the portions of the code that we're still seeking clarification on. Would that be amendable?
That would be helpful.
When staff requests a continuance on an item, your commission would make that decision the same way you would make any other decision presented to you. You can, if you don't have enough information, request clarification as to why, and facts and evidence as to support a decision either for or against a continuance. So yes, you can ask.
Okay, then let's have the presentation.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd like to move that we hear this.
To get a
Presentation.
better clarity on why
And
we're
it-
requesting a continuance.
Effectively revoke the prior decision, right?
You already voted to rescind your prior decision.
Yeah, we did.
You can hear the item, the continuance request and support for the continuance. You can also hear the item itself.
So after we hear the item, the presentation, if we deem we have enough information, we can take.
Correct. You can, as with all decisions, if after presentation of facts and evidence, you may, you have several options. You may, someone may offer a motion to approve, someone may offer a motion to deny, someone may offer a motion to continue, and if you feel that there is not enough information, you can certainly, as a commission, give direction to staff as to what you would need for clarification.
Okay, all right, thank you for that clarity. All right, then we would welcome the presentation.
All right, thank you. Let me just pull it up here. There we are. Trying to find where we went. All right, so as noted, today the commission will be considering a request for a lake bed encroachment permit as well as a variance from the lake bed ordinance. As I mentioned, Todd Abbott with Water Resources is to my side. Stephen Prophet is the contractor for the application, and also we have the property owners in the audience. Sorry, let me grab this. So the project is located in Kelseyville in the Buckingham area. The blue parcel identified right here. The project is in an area with single-family residential and other docks also in the property area. This middle slide here outlines the project parcel in blue. As you can see, the parcel has a unique shape in that it is what we consider a flag lot type of parcel, where the main parcel is here and then there's a skinny portion going down to the lake, which is not uncommon necessarily for our lakefront properties. This picture on the right shows the existing house, and then this is the existing dock facilities here that are proposed to be replaced. So section 5.1 of the shoreline ordinance, which is in chapter 23 of our municipal code, that is outside of our zoning code, which is chapter 21. So it's something that the planning commission doesn't always see. Typically how the encroachment permits work is the applicant will go to Water Resources anytime that there is a facility proposed in the lake or affecting the lake bed, and then they do an administrative review of that and can approve those in-house. However, when there is a request for a variance or an initial study for the environmental analysis, or a couple other triggers, that's when the Planning Commission will see these types of projects. So in this case, the project is seeking a variance from one section that's identified in the staff report, and then potentially one more that we'll go over as well. So that is why it is before the Planning Commission. So this photo on the left shows the existing dock and gangway facilities. The project proposes demolition of the existing 10 by 40 foot gangway and dock, and to replace it with construction of a 3 by 18 foot gangway and an 8 by 48 floating dock. The two existing pilings would be used to secure the structure, and no vegetation would be removed or impacted. Construction is anticipated to take up to 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Equipment that would be utilized for construction would be a boat to remove the existing structure and float the new dock in place, and all work would be conducted from the boat, avoiding the necessity to disturb the shoreline itself. There's no permit history or inventory of the lake bed structure itself, and we believe that's due to just the age of the dock. The lake bed maps are annotated with an 83, and the structure has been in place since around then, so we're assuming that it was in place around 1983. Section 23.6.2A of the shoreline ordinance requires 10-foot setbacks from either side of the property lines and the lines extending out into the lake. So for example, for clarification, these orange lines, they're a little bit offset on this photo, but these lines would extend out straight, and then it requires a 10-foot setback on either side of those lines. Portions of the shoreline ordinance were originally adopted in 1976, and the code was amended further in 1983, as well as there was a bigger update that took place in 2003, and that is the part of the code that was amended for these setback requirements. So because the dock was placed before those codes were put into place, it is considered existing non-conforming structure under the shoreline ordinance. So for the variance request, to support the development, the applicant seeks a variance from the following section noted on the slide. For those 10-foot setbacks, they are requesting a 1-foot setback from either side of the property line, or those lines that would extend out into the water. Wanted to note that in the shoreline ordinance, it's also a little bit different from our traditional planning codes or our zoning ordinance, in the sense that in our zoning code, when you have an existing non-conforming structure, you can replace it like for like, exact same footprint, even if it still is not in conformance with a thing like the setbacks, as long as you're not expanding the use. In the shoreline ordinance, that is not the case, unfortunately. So that is why the structure is being sort of kicked out of that non-conforming status, and we can provide more. That's one of those things that we need more clarification on from the Water Resources Director and their team. But due to the, let me go back one, due to the unique shape of the parcel, with it only being, we thought it was about 10 feet wide. That's another point of clarification we need. There was some confusion on that. It seems that it may be closer to 12.5 feet wide, which would still necessitate a variance because it would not be able to physically meet those 10-foot setbacks on either side. But there is a unique shape to this parcel, and actually this cove in general, and Water Resources could explain that a little bit more, but my understanding is that this is one of 2 sections of the lake that has this sort of curve shape to it that makes, if you envision all of those parcel lines coming out, it sort of creates a triangle and makes it pretty tight and difficult to meet all of those development standards like the setbacks. And I will get into our analysis of that in a moment. but wanted to touch on the environmental analysis. Under the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, the project does qualify for an exemption under Section 15303, which includes replacement or reconstruction of structures, including accessory structures, so long as you're not expanding the footprint significantly or the use. And so this project does qualify for that, as they are proposing to replace the structure. A habitat evaluation was also completed by the Water Resources Department. That's a part of their standard process for the lake bed encroachment permits. The habitat analysis evaluation concluded that there aren't any tules in that area, which is something that we're always looking at as far as impacts. So it is able to meet that exemption for that reason, as well as it will require a lake and stream bed alteration permit from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and all construction would be located outside of what we call the hitch window. That is for the Clear Lake hitch, our endemic fish species. So that would be between October 15th and December 31st. Those are measures that we have worked with Water Resources Department as well as Fish and Wildlife to avoid impacts to Clear Lake hitch, just for a little background on that portion. So the shoreline ordinance in chapter 23, it lists 9 findings for approval of a lake bed encroachment permit and 4 for a variance. These are analyzed in detail within the staff report provided and summarized on the slide. In summary, the project parcel presents unique circumstances due to its shape and size, being a flag lot and being on that cove shape that I mentioned. And specifically, the portion that extends into the lake is only 10 feet wide, or thought to be 10 feet wide, 10 to 12 feet wide, I'll say, making it impossible to meet that 10-foot setback on either side. While the proposed dock would be non-conforming with the setbacks, the applicant proposes an 8-foot dock that is 2 feet narrower than the existing 10-foot dock. And enforcement of the setbacks to the parcel would prevent any development from the shoreline for the applicant to access and recreation to the lake, again, being that it is virtually impossible to meet those in this case. The applicant is requesting that the new lake bed structure remain in the same location as the existing structure, and is proposing a 1-foot setback on either side. So based on that analysis, we were recommending that the Planning Commission find that the project can be categorically exempt from further review under CEQA. And we are also recommending that the variance and the lake bed encroachment permit be approved based on the conditions of approval and the findings in the staff report. That concludes my original presentation, but then I know you all are wanting a little bit more clarification on why we're seeking or requesting a continuance. So we're going to get into that now, if that's amendable to the commission, unless you had
Do you have
any questions
initial
before that.
questions for her presentation?
I do. I'm a little confused because it says that demolition of existing 10-foot by 40-foot gangway and dock, construction of a 3-foot by 18-foot gangway, plus construction of an 8-foot by 48-foot floating dock. Now, if I'm doing my math right, we're extending it 26 feet farther than it currently is. Am I right?
Do you know offhand? That's part.
Offhand, it's difficult to say, but I will state that the permit that was filled out does show some irregularities compared to just a standard replacement. It's one of the things that we need to talk with Director Pawan about. In part, some of this has been a little difficult. I took this position over from Scott Webb about 3 months ago. We have a new lake bed technician as well. She's been on about 2 months. And so we've been left with some notes and stuff that we're working with. And essentially, we want to make sure that we get the calls right. And without Director Upadhyay's considerations, that's difficult for us.
And I will say, if it's helpful, the sort of list of things that Water Resources will be seeking clarification on is the width of the property exactly, because we want to ensure that if they're seeking a variance for those setbacks, that we have the correct number, of course. And then applicability of the non-conforming section of the code. Can I read that real quick?
Sure.
Let me stop sharing here so folks can see us. So this is what section 2314.2A says about existing non-conforming structures in the shoreline ordinance. When the cost of necessary repairs of a non-conforming structure exceeds 50% of the total current replacement cost of the existing structure before damage, an administrative encroachment permit will be required and must be obtained by lakebed management before undertaking any repairs. The structure shall be repaired or reconstructed to conform with the provisions of this chapter or shall be removed at the owner's expense. And so that is a key difference in what I call traditional planning code, if you will, versus the shoreline ordinance. And that's some pretty hefty language, right? Making the applicant remove it. So we want to ensure that, or Water Resources wants to ensure that they are applying that code properly and see if there's any way that even potentially the applicant would not need this. Am I saying that correctly? Okay, and
Yeah.
I'll let Todd clarify the rest.
Okay. Like just kind of in terms of, so, you know, and to kind of broaden it from our department's perspective, because there's multiple variables to this project that requires our director weighing in and providing direction for us, we find it imperative that he do so. There's potential variances along with the unique geography that Michelle described in terms of the cove shape that we just believe that Director Upadhyay really needs to weigh in with. In particular, there was some discrepancy over the width of the parcel. And so I went to our Lake County surveyors who helped us determine the width of the parcel to be 12.5 feet. With that in mind, it means that potentially two variances may be needed for this project. The first would be the 10-foot offset rule, section 23.6.2A, where the code requires the 10-foot offsets. And the second would be the 50% shoreline rule. Under chapter 23, section 6.5C, in terms of width, the width of a residential pier or dock, including all of its parts, shall not exceed 50% of the shoreline frontage of the parcel, or 35 feet, whichever is most limiting, which that certainly is applicable with the 12.5 width parcel. And Michelle discussed the potential third issue in terms of the 50% rule that she just outlined. And I think being in the position this new, I think one of our top concerns is setting precedent, almost accidentally so, without, and I think, again, that's why it's so critical that Director Upadhyay weigh in, because we want to make sure that we get this call right and each call going forward as well. And so given that there are so many variables and questions, we really feel that our director really needs to help with this decision.
Yeah, I had to, I'd like to make some comments on those. So you're asking for variance on 3 different places, the 10-foot setback, the 50% with allowable build based on the parcel's, I guess the flagpole part of the parcel, which is 12.5. And then if it exceeds 50%, that it would have to meet the chapter code, which would be all of those, have a 10-foot setback, etc. The way I'm seeing this specific project, I can see that, I mean, if it's grandfathered in, I mean, that language, is that shown in the chapter at all? Is the language of a structure being grandfathered in, is that anywhere in the chapter?
Existing non-conforming. Oops, sorry.
Existing non-conforming?
That is that 50% rule. That's sort of the issue here.
Yeah.
Just to be frank, if that 50% of the total cost of replacement versus the cost of whatever I had read there, that essentially is going to kick most things out of existing non-conformance status. in my opinion. So, it would not be grandfathered in if we are reading that correctly, which is one of the reasons why we want, first of all, the applicant to be able to have the opportunity, maybe they can provide those numbers and not trigger all of this, right? So we want to give them the opportunity to do that under the director's review, of course, and with his guidance.
Right, yeah, because once it exceeds 50% of the cost, then we're saying that it has to be built to the current chapter. Then that would mean that the 50% with, like you said, wouldn't go in, it wouldn't meet, but if we're asking for a variance for that as well, and we approve that variance, that means that the total width of the dock could be, if we're looking at 12.5 feet wide lot, that the structure could be 6.25 feet. And that would meet that, I mean, we could approve that variance part.
And one thing that we were discussing internally with that section of the code is, does that mean the 3-foot gangway that's attached to the shore? Or does that mean the whole dock itself on the water from the shore, if you're looking from a boat, for example, right? What is that 50% applied to? So that's another thing that we just want to make sure that we're doing that appropriately under the guidance of the director.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd also like to we're working off of Scott's language, his notes, trying to build off of what he left us. And in terms of the 50% threshold in terms of rebuilding, his notes, and like I said, we're working off of his former notes, is that, quote, the structure could be repaired and stay within the 50% threshold. The owner would prefer to replace the floating dock and gangway. That level of work would exceed the 50% threshold. So that again is what kind of triggered the desire to speak with Director Opadier and determine how he'd like us to proceed with this. Because it does seem like there are potential opportunities to go forward possibly with this. But I think that the director will need to weigh in terms of this one in particular.
And I'd like to add something to that. I think that's speculation and hearsay because I can dictate the cost of that. I know what materials are.
Mm-hmm.
These are my friends, both of them all out there. They're good friends with big clients here that spend a lot of money in this county. What I'm trying to do is betterment the lake. I'm trying to betterment their property. I can meet that threshold. I can assure you of that. And I'm seeing here, we're talking about 12. I see 15.54 feet in that, so that changes that a little bit too. This is on a Buckingham Cove subdivision that I put into my application, and going back to the numbers, the math that you brought up with, nothing's changing there. I think it was the way it's written down is confusing that there for you. The gangplank, everything that's there, it's not growing. There was one thing that was 40 feet that I put in there because that was my mistake, but I added it to another application when I went for the like for like put in, and that was the 48 feet. And so it's going to shrink in. We add the 15.45, we're still within that threshold, I believe, and I'm just only trying to clarify that, with that. And there's a lot to this. Michelle's worked very hard at this. I know she's overworked on a lot of things she does. We've been waiting a long time for the assessor's office. All these, Yolanda's worked very hard in trying to get these things to us. They're just overloaded with things, and I understood that. We've been very patient. And again, I would emphasize Chapter 23, 6.2. That's one that states there that this location of the lake doesn't have wake. We're in like a back thing. There's no wake there. That is a big thing. Like we talked about. If that was out in a different area, boats come by, you would have that problem. I really think that this is a betterment for the lake. It's betterment for the neighbors. I think everything here is a positive situation. And all we're trying to do is betterment that, and we're working with everything to make this go, and that's all we're trying to do. I mean, and I'm willing to help them as well and help this. So I can understand where someone says, okay, they're going out there and this is gonna be this much money. Well, that's their opinion. To where what I do it for is a totally different thing. So that's where I put that budget in there, you know. Again, these are my friends. I'm able to do that. Material costs, you guys want me to get you a material cost? I could do that. There's not a problem to show you that threshold's not gonna be over. I assure you of that. And I'm doing that to help that area there. I do a lot of work. I do a lot of work in that area. Buckingham, I've been in Buckingham for 20 years, doing a lot of work. And all the people are great there. And this is what I want to emphasize a lot, is this has created a lot of situation for the homeowners with the neighbors. You know, I know the neighbors don't have this. I know the neighbors didn't go through this. I know one was built on theirs. And the conflict between the neighbors supposed to be neighbors. You know, we want a community to where your neighbor comes over and asks how you're doing, not look over and create a problem. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is just to bring some comfort in that area. And that's, I hope you guys can look at that and oversee some of this. And I will assure you that if there's something need to be done to grant this and get this thing going, we've been waiting almost, I mean, I think I submitted this in July of last year, I believe. And, you know, I did everything that I could to help it. So whatever we can do, I really appreciate your guys' time today and input. If we can grant this.
Okay, thank you.
Homeowners.
So questions from the commission here?
I just had a quick comment. The cost limit, the 50%, you know, you can do it for free because they're your friends or whatever, but what we have to look at, I feel, is the intent of the law. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I mean, I very much appreciate what you're doing, and it looks like an improvement, so.
Do we have more public comment before we
I don't know.
discuss among ourselves? Just curious.
Yeah, step forward, state your name.
Nick Spina, again, one of the homeowners. I just wanted to state a couple things on the price of the dock, and Steve's willing to be flexible on that. The old dock, I know, cost more money. They had to put pilings in. Everybody that's been on this lake knows 30 years ago, a piling was $4,000 a piece to put in. We're not putting any pilings in. We're just removing and replacing an 8x48 piece of wood. Another thing that Steve mentioned was the neighbors. If we go back up to that map, that neighbor is on the property line with his dock. He's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be center of the property. Again, they're talking about getting a surveyor out there. I don't want to fight with my neighbor. I don't need to be in a war with my neighbor. We have good relations now. That's how I want to keep it. You know, if it gets into it, he's going to have to move his dock, not mine. I'm not interested in that. So I just wanted to make those points. You know, we've been waiting a long time, costing money, getting up here. Like I said, my mom's elderly. I just want to get this. I don't understand why this is such a big deal, you know. I just want to state that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, could we request a 10-minute break, please?
All righty.
Thank you.
We'll take a 10-minute break and we'll resume back here in 10 minutes.
So I think working together,
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back from our break, and so put it to the commission. Any other questions before we, any other questions for the,
Do we close public comment? Or
yeah, we closed public comment, yes.
Oh,
Oh,
Staff
like
has
to
a
hear-
request to present, Chair.
Pardon me, sir?
Prior to reopening, staff does has a request to
oh, all
present.
right. Go ahead.
yeah, after further discussion and all of the points that were raised today, staff can no longer recommend approval today. Just wanted to clarify that for the record, based on just more information and analysis needed in conferring with county council.
Okay. All right. Before we close public comment, anyone on Zoom? I forgot to ask. There is? Okay, so we'll take the Zoom comment.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is Margot Kambara. Your concern to provide timely response to permit application hearings is commendable, but the delay in this permit application is not your fault. Your decision should not be rushed because the permit process pace before it reached you was slow. Here are 2 points. Water Resources Department review as recommended by staff, and specifically Todd Abbott from Water Resources Department, is recommended. Why? Because existing structure was installed before the current regulations came into effect. Water Resources Department has not conducted the environmental impact analysis of the current structure. Water Resources Department has the water science experts to make qualified evaluation of this structure and its impact to the lake. Secondly, Mr. Abbott noted that there is not a like-for-like replacement in this project. Mr. Abbott said, quote, "not standard replacement." And so the project does not qualify for a CEQA exemption, which requires a like-for-like replacement. And so, as we hear after the break, staff is is now concluding that it cannot recommend the project for approval at this time. And I urge you to follow staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? All right. State your name, please.
Good morning, Donna Makowitz, Redbud Audubon. As noted earlier, I noticed on attachment 2 on page 1, it says that tules are present adjacent to the project area. So if the commission does decide or to approve this, which we hope that you'll listen to the Planning Commission's advice, we would request a pre-construction bird survey be done. Our grebes can still be nesting as late as October, which is when the removal would begin. And note that the bird survey is over a year old also. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, one more chance for public comment from the chambers.
Yeah, Nick Spina again for the owner, or the owner. I don't understand how they can just keep continuance and prolong this, and it costs me money every time Steve has to come back here or go through his paperwork, and I'm trying to understand if you guys can give me a time. This has been over a year. Is it gonna take another year, another 10 years? I don't. 8x48, remove and replace. So I'm just trying to, if you guys can help me out, give me an answer on that.
Thank you. All right, we'll close public comment. Any other questions from? Oh, pardon me. Okay, I didn't see your hand.
Hi, my name is Jim Orlando. I'm at 8475. So if you looked at that flag lot, how it is, we own half of it, so we own the boat launch area of it, and they have the other side of it. I have no problem with what he's doing. The dock he has now is not very good. Me and my son fish all around in tournaments and bass tournaments, and we look for docks that are falling apart because we figure there's no boats going to be in there. But anyway, it's going to be such a betterment to the place. We just bought this last year. We put a lot of money into the house we're at, and the actual launch is bringing the value of our house down. These are, I mean, I've only known them for a little while. They're nice people. They've been up here a long time. We've been on Clear Lake. We were in a trailer for 23 years, and now we have a house there. But as far as I'm concerned, and we use the same part of land to go down there, he's just on one side, I'm on the other, it's perfectly fine with us. So 8475 has no problem with his project on there. So that's all.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, last chance. All right, close public comment. Any other questions from the commission?
I have a question for staff. How long do you think it'll take? I think it would be appropriate to continue it to a certain date rather than a time uncertain, if that's possible. How much time do you think you need?
So Director Opadier will be back, I believe, the 2nd or 3rd of June. And I don't believe that we need much more time than to counsel with him, get his feedback and direction, and then prepare again to come before the commission. I don't see, it's going to, of course, depend on the director's decisions. But I can promise that it'll be, the absolute priority as soon as he's back.
Can we look for a date then? I don't know what the day of the week, the 2nd of June is, but
The 11th or the 25th? The 25th. Okay.
okay, so what are you saying, June 25th? So, all right, so I think what would be really helpful is, since there's some questions about size and those kinds of things, give the applicants very specific clarity on what you're looking for. There seems to be some question of size or this or that, and so if they don't have absolute clarity of what you're looking for, it makes it hard to bring the two sides together. So make sure that they know, and if their application is incomplete or missing things, be very clear with them, give it a highlight so they know what it is that they are not supplying to complete this project. I mean, it does seem like an awful long time for, from start to finish, but there may have been other things along the way that weren't complete. And so to make sure that the applicant, got to do your homework, fulfilled, not a C, got to get an A. So, but make sure that they know, what they have to supply in order for you to make a clear decision. Okay. All right, so we have a date specific, and June 25th.
At 9:05.
9:05. Okay. Do you have any questions on what you might need to go forward? You will work together with them to make sure that you're supplying everything that they need?
Yes, there's a record in the portal of what we do, and I asked what I can do all the time.
Okay.
Oh, no? Okay. Yeah, that's one thing great about the portal. I like that about it. There's some things I don't, but, unlike the hackers that just came in and billed me twice or something.
Okay. Well, it seems like that you probably ought to get your heads together again one more time to make sure that what they're looking at and what those thresholds might be to kick it into another category, so everybody's clear on what, the 50% of what, or, that kind of thing. So, and I understand what you were saying about.
Yeah, it was pretty clear Scott was very thorough with it, Michelle was very thorough with it, and we did that. And then another thing arises, we're waiting on this person, we're waiting on that. And yeah, it's almost been a year. That is a long time, and I know I was, talking with some other people about that, and they say, you know, that Permit Act kind of puts a limit to that. I mean, this is what keeps people, I mean, we heard it from Nick, you know, he's been waiting, I mean, they've been calling me, this thing, and my hands are tied, I can't do nothing.
Right.
you
So,
know.
so I think we have a date, and I know that they are motivated to try to come to a conclusion as well. So do we need to vote on the continuance?
I move that we continue this item to June 25th, 9:05 a.m.
A second.
All in favor to approve the continuance?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need a break, are we ready to go? Okay. Take a moment to reshuffle here.
Sorry.
All right, we're all ready to go? Okay, so, so next project is consideration of proposed major use permit, PL 25-120, UP 24-15, Global Interactive Solution, Heidi, is it Jarma? JAMA, okay. And mitigated negative declaration, PL 25120, IS 24-11, for the approval of a multi-stage development for commercial cannabis cultivation of outdoor and mixed light cultivation and a type 13 distribution. Self-transport only license located at 1780 California State Highway 53, Clear Lake, APN 010-055-024. So, staff?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Trish Turner. I'm an Associate Planner with the Community Development Department of Lake County. The applicant and project consultant are present in chambers. The project consultant has prepared a brief presentation following staff presentation if the commission is okay with that.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
The project proposes a major use permit for a two-stage cannabis cultivation development. Stage 1 consists of 130,680 square feet or 3 acres of outdoor commercial cannabis. Stage 2 consists of 87,120 square feet or 2 acres of outdoor cannabis and 20,736 square feet of mixed light cultivation within greenhouses. 1 type 13 distribution for self-transport only, and the parcel size is approximately 64.23 acres. The site is located in the unincorporated area of Clear Lake. The project is located within 1,000 feet of the City of Clear Lake boundaries. The City of Clear Lake has provided a letter of support for this project, and it is included in the agency comments, attachment 7. I forgot to put my star on here. I did not put a star on here, but this is where the project location is, right over there. The general plan and zoning designations is the general plan is agricultural and commercial resort. The little brown spot right there is commercial resort, and the rest of it is ag. The full zoning is agriculture, waterway combining district, scenic combining district, and commercial resort. Design review, it is a split zoned parcel. The cannabis cultivation operations will occur on the ag zone portion of the site. The project parcel is not within any mapped flood zones. It is within the Shoreline Communities Planning Area and Supervisor District 2. The project site is located in a rural area surrounded by hilly topography with oak, woodland, and brush vegetation that serves as a natural screen. The cultivation areas are on a relatively flat portion of the site behind numerous oak trees. Due to the rural nature of the site, and because it is visually protected by natural topography and surrounding vegetation, the cultivation activities would not be visible from any public roads or access points. The project location has been historically used for vineyard operations. The existing uses on the property is there is one single-family dwelling, one groundwater irrigation well, a perimeter fencing and a locking access gate, interior roadway improvements, a culvert installed, and ag uses have been established since 2001, including vineyard operations. The scope of the project. The site currently operates as a vineyard. The applicant is proposing diversified agriculture that will include existing vineyard operations and the cannabis operations as well. Facilities and infrastructure. The facilities will include a 6-foot tall heavy gauge wire security fence with steel gates and padlocks, a security camera system and lighting system, and a nutrient storage shed. Site utilities consist of a drip irrigation system supplied by an existing groundwater well, utilizing water storage tanks, PVC piping, and drip emitters, as well as a septic tank and leach field. Fire suppression is provided by a 28,000-gallon dedicated storage water tank in accordance with NFPA standards and compliance with PRC 4291. Additional site features include 6 parking spaces, including 1 accessible space, trash enclosures, a compost area, and a soil storage area. In stage 1 of development is going to be of 3 acres of outdoor cannabis area and irrigation water storage and distribution system. Construction of a 50-foot by 120-foot or 6,000 square foot building for on-site cannabis processing activities, construction of 2 ancillary greenhouses for immature plant propagation, for clones for on-site outdoor cultivation, construction of parking facilities, and improvement of the existing driveway access, septic tank, and leach field. Stage 2 of development would reduce the outdoor cultivation from 3 acres to 2 acres, development of 20,736 square feet of mixed light cultivation in greenhouses, development of 20,736 square foot of immature plant propagation in greenhouses or in ag exempt tube houses, construction of a 36-foot by 70-foot or 2,520 square feet pole barn over 3 12,000-gallon above-ground nutrient pools for koi fish, to be used for water storage and for the production of organic fertilizers, and a fire department turnaround meeting PRC 4290 requirements. The project was analyzed under the Lake County General Plan, the Shorelines Community Area Plan, the Lake County Zoning Ordinance, the 2025 CEQA regulations and guidelines, and state regulations, with the findings found in the staff report. All impacts to the environment could be mitigated to less than significant with mitigation measures incorporated into the project's conditions of improvement, attachment 2, and outlined in the draft mitigated negative declaration, attachment 4. Excuse me. Public comment period occurred from the draft ISMND from December 18th, 2025 to January 21st, 2026. The County of Lake Community Development Department initiated the AB 52 tribal notification process on April 21st, 2025, contacting 11 Lake County-based tribes. Koi Nation requested consultation on April 29th, 2025. During a meeting held on May 20th, 2025, representatives determined that the project was outside of their Aboriginal territory and deferred to the Elam Indian Colony and the Yocho-Dehi Wintun Nation. On May 20th, 2025, staff reached out to Elam Indian Colony and Yocho-Dehi Wintun Nation as directed by Koi Nation. Yocho-Dehi Wintun Nation responded and deferred to Elam Indian Colony. On June 23rd, 2025, Elam Indian Colony responded and requested consultation. On June 25th, they responded with a date and time of July 7th, 2025 at 10 a.m. While a formal consultation meeting was scheduled, the tribe did not attend. Staff reached out via telephone to the tribe to reschedule and requested a call back. On August 11th, 2025, the county notified Elam Indian Colony of the conclusion of the AB 52 consultation process. Staff has identified mitigation measures for tribal cultural resources that have been incorporated into the initial study, MND, Attachment 3, and the conditions of approval, Attachment 4. The project consultant has been provided with contact information for Elam Indian Colony Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for Tribal Cultural Resources Training per Mitigation Measures TCR-1. Points of interest, water usage. The applicant submitted a hydrology report and a drought management plan, Attachment 5. Cultivation will be supported by one on-site irrigation well. The report evaluates the cumulative impacts of both existing and future uses, including cannabis operations, residential, agriculture, and commercial needs, and determine that there is sufficient water for the proposed cultivation, as well as all the other surrounding uses in the area. Based on this analysis, the project is projected to use 5.9 acre-feet of water per year for stage 1, increasing to 6.8 acre-feet of water for stage 2. Point of interest, scenic combining district. Public comment received from Eastern Region Town Hall states the project isn't in conformance with the Lake County zoning ordinance for Article 34, scenic combining district overlay for the project parcel. Article 34.2 applicability. The following features should be considered when applying the SC district. Views predominantly possessing 2 or more of the following characteristics. Criteria 1, varied topographic features including uniquely shaped rocks, dominant hills, mountains, or canyons. Response, although the parcel is not flat, it is not visible from a public hilltop, not within a canyon, and has no unique rock formations. This doesn't apply. Criteria 2, vegetative features including significant stands of trees, colored variety of wildflowers or plants. Response, the surrounding area has vineyards, but the site itself is not described as possessing significant native or color vegetative features for public view, so this does not apply. Criteria 3, water features including views of Clear Lake, creeks, or streams or waterfalls. Response, there are no prominent water features and Clear Lake is not visible from the site. This criteria does not apply. Criteria 4, pastoral features such as farms, pastures, vineyards, or orchards. Response, the area has vineyards, but the cannabis site is not visible from a public vantage point from State Highway 53 or public areas. Criteria 5, historical buildings or districts which characterize period architecture or indicative of past lifestyles. Response, there are no historical buildings or architecture in the area, so this criteria does not apply. Criteria 6, provide convenient visual access from a state highway, county roadway, bikeway, or trail. The site is not visible from California State Highway 53, and there are no public trails or bikeways in the area, so this criteria doesn't apply. Criteria 7, allow features to remain in view of the traveling public for a reasonable length of time for lasting views or impressions. Response. Due to the site's location and lack of visibility from State Highway 53, the project will not have an impact on the traveling public's views or impressions, so this criteria doesn't apply. Due to the considerable distance of approximately 778 feet and the effective visual shielding provided by the intervening topography and vegetative screening, the project location does not affect the existing visual character or quality of public view. Since Article 34.2 applicability is not met, the rest of the Article 34 does not apply. Staff recommendations. Environmental. Adopt mitigated negative declaration, initial study IS 24-11 for use permit PL-25-120, UP 24-15 with the findings listed in the staff report. Major use permit. Approve use permit PL-25-120 or UP 24-15 with the proposed conditions of approval with the findings listed in the staff report. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the committee before we open to public comment? Oh, well, I don't know if you have any questions here before we'll see his presentation, but any questions on this presentation?
Well, I have questions, but I could wait until after the
Okay.
applicant's presentation. Yes.
All right. We'll go ahead with the applicant's presentation then.
Good morning. Richard Knoll Consulting here in Lakeport. And I am representing the project Global Interactive Solutions, LLC. And I do want to thank the commission, thank staff for your consideration and all the hard work. I do want to introduce Heidi Jamra, who is the owner of the property and the applicant. Also with us is Joey Franco, part of the application team. And then I want to mention that Dr. Angie Dodd, who prepared the groundwater hydrology report, will be joining us on Zoom and hopefully can answer any questions that you may have regarding groundwater, water usage, drought management plan, etc. So, yes. So this is just the cover sheet, and I'm going to kind of breeze through this because I think staff did a great job presenting the project. But this is the cover sheet for the application with the project description, the general site plan, notations down at the bottom regarding basically PRC 4290 compliance, and then general notes. Next slide, please. So again, this is just a rough or a detail concerning the project. You know, phase 1, 3 acres of outdoor, the processing building, some greenhouses for propagation, parking, access. It's got a good access driveway existing, but there is some improvement required to widen it out a bit. Phase 2, we'd reduce the outdoor and then build some mixed light greenhouses, the pole barn for the storage or the water tanks that will have koi fish. They intend on using that approach for generation of a natural fertilizer that will be used in the cannabis cultivation process. And then down at the bottom are other improvements that are being proposed. Next slide, please. So this is a little more of a breakdown of the phase 1 on the left side there, and then phase 2 on the right side. You can see a little more detail as to what's being proposed. Next slide, please. Just a little more information about existing conditions and some of the operations, number of staff and employees, et cetera. So we can come back to this if there are any questions. Next slide, please. This is detail concerning the processing building elevations at the top there, the pole barn, bottom right corner, and then greenhouse and or hoop structure design bottom left corner. Next slide, please. There is a preliminary grading plan that has been prepared. The site is relatively flat, so there'll be minimal grading, but there will be about 500 cubic yards of clearing and grubbing during the phase 1 project, and then about 737 cubic yards of cut and fill with the phase 2 project. And then there are also details and reference made in the plan concerning erosion and sediment control, best management practices to be employed, and then obviously there'll be a grading permit required when that work occurs. So not a lot of grading being proposed. Next slide, please. When these applications are put together, the county ordinance requires a substantial amount of detail and documentation. This is just a list of what has been prepared and submitted, some of which you see, some of it you may not. But there's the list of all the documentation and plans that have been submitted to the county for this project. Again, we can come back to it if you have any questions about any of that. Next slide, please. This is a excerpt from the biological report and follow-up letter that was done by Northwest Biosurvey, indicating that basically there's no significant biological impact related to this project. Next survey, or next slide. This is similar excerpt from the groundwater hydrology report, summary and conclusions, and again, hopefully we can, if you have questions about this, we can come back to it and or talk to Dr. Angie Dodd about this. Next slide, please. These are the study results and recommendations with respect to cultural resources. The report that we had prepared identified no significant historic sites or features found, and recommendation that the project be approved as planned. Next slide, please. So we added these photos. This is Google Earth photo street view from Highway 53 going northbound. A little hard to depict, you know, the site. You can see that reference to it, but that site is actually over the hill and not visible. So I've got 4 slides here that depict that. So you can't see the site. So next slide, please. Again, hillside, over the hill. Next slide. Going northbound here. Again, looking through the trees, over the hill, not visible from Highway 53. In the final photo here, looking southeast from Highway 53. The site is back behind that stand of trees and will not be visible from Highway 53. Next slide, please. So I think this is our conclusion. We feel like we presented considerable facts and details that describe the project, proposed operations, and support for approval of the major use permit. We feel that the cannabis business farm income, the generation of county and state tax revenues, the employment opportunities, and the increased expenditure of employee disposable income within Lake County will all help enhance and maintain the local economy. And we respectfully request that the Planning Commission approve the major use permit consistent with the recommendation made by staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the commission for either staff or the applicant?
I see you're on the button first. I have a couple concerns. The big one, obviously, is this is an ag zone. When I'm not quite ready with that comment, but it was brought to our attention that the city wrote a letter of support, but the city's letter of support is conditional, and it says, Alan Flores says that if the grow is outside of a 1,000-foot setback from the city's perimeter, then they might support it. So I'm wondering, you state in your document here that it's the nearest residence is 1,500 feet away, but where's the property line? What's the setback from the nearest neighbor to the south?
Where is the property?
Yeah, what's the distance from the grow to the property line to the south?
I guess if we could go back to one of the slides.
Yeah, I didn't see any measurements.
I don't recall that there is actually a, if that distance is noted on the plan, but it's several hundred feet. And let's see if I can.
Those are the site plans on site. We are measuring.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that line at the bottom that you see is 100 feet.
Yeah, so 10 times that?
Yeah, I mean.
It's approximately just from the property line to the grow or the cultivation site is approximately 781 feet from property line.
Okay, so we do not have the support of the city of Clear Lake.
Wait, the 1,000-foot setback is from the city
You want to
boundary?
see that? I do have that one in.
I'm not very familiar with it.
Right there.
Yeah.
So where the blue star is where the 1,000-foot, but the 1,000-foot buffer is the yellow. The blue star is where the cultivation will be occurring.
So it's very close.
And we did incorporate the conditions from the city of Clear Lake into their conditions of approval. The one that we cannot support is where they require the county to do anything. We as the county can't, but we did add the other conditions that are applicable to the applicant into those conditions of approval from the city of Clear Lake.
But the 1,000-foot setback isn't one of them. I mean, it's close.
And can you read those conditions? Because that's what I was looking for that also in the conditions of approval to make sure that we are satisfying the request from the city of Clear Lake.
Give me 1 second, I'll pull it up.
In the meantime, Chair, if I may, the requirement for permission, a letter of permission from the city of Clear Lake is not.
It's not
just-
permission, I recognize that they're not giving permission, they don't have any
Correct.
authority, but there was reference during discussion earlier about support.
Correct. The county has adopted in its own ordinance a requirement that applicants receive a support letter from the city. It is not a state requirement, it's not any other kind of requirement, it's something the county has imposed on itself. So the only thing the county requires in relation to applications is a letter of support from the city. The city is not, under that ordinance, granted authority to demand anything, not given permission to add conditions to permits. The only thing the county has required of applicants is a letter of support. So if you in reading the letters that the city or a city may provide, either Lakeport or Clear Lake, may provide, and you determine that it does not support the project, then you would weigh it in that way. And if you read it and you feel that it does, then you would apply it as meeting that criteria under the county's ordinance.
If I may move to another topic, or
Yeah,
are you
go
ready
ahead.
to answer?
So on the attachment number 7, page 23 and 24, is that letter from the city of Clear Lake? Yes. What was the question exactly? What the conditions were?
No, I wasn't asking that. I had just reread it when it was brought up.
Okay.
And so I'm pointing out that the letter states that only if these conditions are met do they support the project. And it is clear that the conditions are not met, so they do not support the project.
Well, they can't meet the conditions without an approval.
Yeah,
I
it's
understand that.
confusing to me what you're,
Yeah.
Okay.
what is being.
So what I'm saying is they're not approving it. They're not trying to make a decision. They're just giving input. They're providing an opinion. And their opinion is the city's opinion is that they do not support this. That's my
No,
interpretation.
they
of the
do
letter.
support it. They.
Not according to this letter.
It has to meet the criteria.
It says, if the county includes the use permit conditions, mitigation measures for the project consistent with the impacts to the city infrastructure and resources above, and they enumerate them, this letter can be considered a letter of support, but they don't. It says, the project, well, I don't want to read the entire letter, but if you read the city's letter, it details that it needs to be 1,000 feet from the city's boundary, and my understanding is that it is not. It's 750 feet.
You have a copy of this letter?
I have a copy. I'm looking at it. I don't interpret the letter in the same way. The city would not have written this letter if there wasn't a level of support or whatever you want to call it for for construction within that 1,000-foot setback that is established by the county. So the letter is not saying they don't support the project.
If it meets their criteria, they will support it, but apparently it doesn't meet the criteria, I think is her point.
No, it does meet their criteria. The 1,000-foot setback is not the city of Clear Lake's criteria. It is the county of Lake's criteria.
Okay, so my interpretation of this letter is a letter of support, a conditional letter of support. I'll reread it. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe there's different ways to interpret that letter. But the way I'm reading it is, upon examination, I see that it is within 1,000 feet, and therefore that condition is not met. But I'll reread it.
Commissioners, may I provide some clarification?
Yes.
Okay. The City of Clear Lake Council has considered this request and determined that it shall issue letters of support for projects that are consistent with adopted policy for projects within 1,000 feet of Clear Lake's city boundary. and this project is within 1,000 feet of Clear Lake city boundary.
Like I said, I want to reread this letter because perhaps I'm not interpreting it correctly, but it's a pretty long, detailed letter. So regardless, I don't think that the city of Clear Lake is the one who should be making this decision. And it's kind of minor, actually. I mean, we consider a lot of input. There's a lot of comments and agency comments as well.
Absolutely, there are quite a few comments to digest. Additionally, these requests have been incorporated into the project's conditions of approval, as noted within the letter of support from City of Clear Lake that reads, if the county includes use permit conditions mitigation measures for the project consistent with the impacts to city infrastructure and resources above, the letter can be considered a letter of support.
Right. Like I said, I'm interpreting that as conditional, if. To me, the bigger issue is, my understanding was that we were not allowing outdoor grows in ag zones. Am I understanding this incorrectly?
That is incorrect. There are a significant amount of outdoor cannabis cultivation projects that are approved and pending within ag zoning. We do not allow outdoor projects within the farmland protection zone,
Okay.
which is an overlay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And I would also like to, I understand there are 4 pending projects and 1 approved project within a mile. Do you know where those are roughly? East, west, north, south?
There are several approved projects in the area, and there's a pending project right next door to the property, to the north of the property. It's an expansion to an existing use. There are, all of the approved projects are within, let me just pull up my notes here, I apologize. Staff report.
I mean, what we're looking at here is a zone, what do you call that, spot zoning? Where you have this parcel is zoned differently than the surrounding parcels?
Yeah, that looks to be like that, but I'm not sure how that happened or anything like that. That's beyond my purview. So there are 4 approved project canopies within 1 mile of the project, and there are 3 approved project canopies within 3 miles. So a total of 7 approved projects within a 3-mile radius of this project. There are 3 pending within a 3-mile radius and 1 pending within a 1-mile radius.
And 4 are already established within a 1-mile radius, is that correct?
Yeah, it's page 10 on the staff report, page 10 and 11. So the bottom of page 10 and the top of page 11 on the staff report. And it also gives sizes as well. And then also the hydrology report also takes into consideration all of these cultivation sites, all of the water used for these cultivation sites, as well as the proposed project itself, as well as all of the agriculture vineyards and homes in the area and commercial uses as well.
Right, thank you very much. I love it when you put the stars on it that show where the other projects are.
I know, I'm so sorry, I apologize.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, go ahead.
I have questions. In regard to the spot zoning, for better or for worse, I actually had the opportunity to visit this site back in somewhere between 2007 and 2009, I believe, when the zoning was changed on this property, and that commercial resort zoning was added to the property. And so with that, I do have questions. Are there any current permits with that still are in effect on that property in regard to that, more specifically in regard to the commercial resort?
No, not that I am aware of. Any type of use permit, whenever whenever it's not utilized for a period of 2 years, then the permit expires.
Correct. And so that's what I wanted to find out, whether
Yeah,
that was
it
still
hasn't been in
active
use.
or not. So I have a question, and this here might be a little convoluted, but I know we do 1 acre of cannabis per 20 acres, and the cannabis is an allowable use on ag property, but on that commercial resort, which is part of this property, how does that lay out, given that the property is 64 acres, and if we're allowing 3 acres of outdoor cannabis, but it's not allowed to, or that commercial resort segment of the property is not included in that 64 acres, how does that lay out?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
I think that we would have processed it as a total amount of acreage without separating the resort commercial, since that's not an ongoing permitted use.
Right.
Your question is regarding clustering. Yeah,
Correct.
right.
Right.
And it's not.
Right. But I do have a question in regard to the commercial resort, and just wondering if this property also, or for this project, in cleaning this up, if this project shouldn't have also included a rezone of that commercial resort area, given it's not being used, there is no permit with it, and it's planned to be used as residential. That I know that building originally was built for commercial resort, 9,000 square foot. It's not necessarily a single family residence. It was originally built for commercial resort. So, we're taking away or eliminating that use in essence, and so it almost seems like this project should have included a rezone of that piece.
The portion of the property that is zoned, sorry, Commissioners, I apologize, Mary Claiborne, Senior Planner, Community Development Department. The portion of the property that is zoned resort commercial does contain a structure on site which is proposed for staff housing. At this time, there is no resort commercial use other than what is existing non-conforming at the site, which is a residential use. So the home there on site would be potentially used for the farm staff to live on site.
Well, to follow on her question, if it doesn't change zoning at some point in time, can that structure be reignited into a commercial resort facility? And so I know that there's conversation about having on-site opportunities at various cannabis grows.
We would consider that should an application be submitted, but at this point it would be hard for us to say either way until a project was considered. However, I was thinking hypothetically, I thought Commissioner Rosenthal raised an interesting point, but when we have parcels that have resource conservation on them, we don't separate that from the acreage. We still use that entire parcel for clustering. So I'm not sure that we would have required a rezone in this. I don't know that it would have been necessary. But I do take your point. We'll think about that in the future.
Okay, thank you. And then I also wanted to ask staff about clarification, because on, reading through the materials between the greenhouses and hoop houses, and it seems it appears in the materials as greenhouse/hoop houses. So we're kind of going for greenhouses or hoop houses, I'm not sure which, and just for clarification for the public and for myself, I'm not sure about my fellow commissioners, but can you explain a little bit more about the difference between the greenhouse and the hoop house?
Yeah, so the portion of the staff report that has that greenhouse/hoop house is for immature plant propagation, which can be done in either an ag exempt hoop house or if they want to put up a permanent structure, which is a greenhouse. The difference between a greenhouse and a hoop house is a greenhouse is permanent and a hoop house is not. Greenhouses allow for the installation of odor filtration systems, electricity. things like that. Ag exempt hoop houses are temporary or only allowed for 180 days. The mixed light cultivation on this property for this project is proposed in greenhouses as it can only be done in greenhouses. But immature plant propagation, if the applicant so chooses, they can do ag exempt hoop houses for 6 months out of the year because it's not a requirement to have light or artificial light and things like that. So that's where that greenhouse slash hoop house came into play on the staff report. It is only for the immature plant propagation, not for the mixed light cultivation.
So how many of each are being proposed? Help clarify that.
How many greenhouses?
How many greenhouses, how many hoop houses?
Well, it looks like 2 greenhouses in stage 1, perhaps, and there was a typo in the hydrology report that said 6, but I believe it's 2 in stage 1. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then stage 2, it expands.
In stage 2, underneath that, you've got development of 20,000 square feet of mixed light, and then right below it, you have the same number of immature plant propagation greenhouses. So are they two separate
Yes,
groups of greenhouses?
that is correct. The 20,736 square feet of mixed light cultivation is for the cultivation of cannabis.
Okay.
The 20,736 for immature plant propagation is just for them to propagate plants to be able to utilize in their cultivation operation.
Okay, so how many of each are we putting in here?
I'll defer to Richard.
How many each of what?
Greenhouse, one is mixed light cultivation, and one is for immature plant propagation,
Well,
listed here, so.
the project morphed a little bit in the process. So basically, what is being proposed are 2 greenhouses initially for immature plant
Okay.
propagation, phase 1, with the 3 acres of outdoor.
Right.
Phase 2 would eliminate 1 acre of outdoor cultivation and add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 greenhouses for mixed light.
Okay, so, because that wasn't stipulated, how many?
Yeah, and a point of, I guess, clarification. There has been some recent discussion. The applicants have talked about not changing, not actually implementing the phasing plan. You know, the market conditions are changing. The approval is still on the table as proposed, or excuse me, the project is still on the table as proposed. But the greenhouses, as indicated on the plans, may not actually go forward as proposed.
Okay, so at this point, if you go phase 1 and phase 2, there'll be 11 greenhouses, not hoop houses, but greenhouses. That's a proposal. Okay.
Correct.
All right. I had just one question. You have a potential of 10 employees, and I think you said there were going to be 6 parking places. Did I not hear that correctly? Just didn't seem like that worked out.
Yeah, a total of 6 parking spaces.
Okay.
Yeah, but not 10 employees.
It says 10 seasonal employees.
Well, that's been corrected. The proposal is 1 to 2 full-time and up to 4 seasonal.
Okay, well, that's not what we got on our little.
Yeah, so, yeah, and I had a question about that too, because the hydrology report also goes into specifics about the human use of water and factoring that into the hydrology report. And so I was wondering as far as on how we skip around with the numbers, because in 3 different reports, the numbers are all different.
Right.
And so, yeah, so again, we need some clear information, I guess, when he gets to the staff report, because we have, I think in the project plan report, it's slightly different than what's in the hydrology report and what's in the staff report, which says up to 10 seasonal employees and 4 full-time. So So
Where-
that's
where
not
is-
considered in the
where is the 10
hydrology
figure?
report.
And seasonal's in our staff
Yeah,
report.
the
in the
information
staff
that
report.
we provided to the county is for 4 seasonal.
Okay, well,
My mistake.
we're not coming together on our numbers.
Yeah, in the draft initial study, it was reviewed as 2 full-time employees and 4 seasonal employees. And that's consistent with what's in the hydrology report.
Right.
It must be a typo in my staff report. I apologize.
So, and as we're speaking about hydrology, I noticed it was from, what, 2017? No, 2019? Was the well report, and it was based on that, am I correct? Was there anything more current than that?
Yeah, the excuse me, I wasn't sure if you're asking me or staff,
Or-
sorry.
Asking.
Yes, the hydrologist, Angie Dodd, did submit an addendum that is dated in 2024.
Yeah.
Is that in, oh,
It's in attachment 5.
okay. Attachment file, okay. Okay, thank you. I also had a question about the roads. This is from April 2025. It says at this time, the application documents did not contain enough detail to provide complete comments here. This is CAL FIRE on the roads. So I just had obviously this is several years old, but just wonderment, are there still issues with the road qualifications for the 4290 and 91?
So in the site plans, they do, this revised site plans do have in there mitigation for wildfire, including conditions of approval require that the roads be upgraded to 4290 compliance. On page, we're looking it up, on the site plans, I think it's page 1. On page 1 of the site plans, it has in there the general requirements of wildfire.
Question is, have they been met?
They will be met at the time the project is going to be approved.
So it's a condition of approval?
Absolutely. If a person is going to upgrade their roads, they're not going to do it before their approval of a project because of the cost going into it.
All right, I understand that.
Madam Chair, may I respond? That CAL FIRE letter was provided to the applicant, and in response to that letter, a revised site plan was prepared and submitted. And so those 4290 requirements that CAL FIRE wanted were addressed and included on the revised site plan.
Okay.
And the water tank calculation was also part of that CAL FIRE letter, and calculations concerning the number of tanks to be set aside for emergency water provision were identified in that worksheet and also indicated on the site plan.
Right, I see I see the tank stuff. Okay. I must have missed it on the property plan. All right, thank you. Other questions?
Yes. I was just looking for a little bit more explanation on the nutrient pools and the koi fish and how that plays out also with, because there's a pond there, and I'm sorry, this is kind of educational also because I'm not familiar with it and how that plays into, again, water use.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. It's okay. So they are proposing 3 12,000-gallon above-ground nutrient pools for koi fish. So it is my understanding that these koi fish will produce nutrients, and then the nutrients will be used for organic fertilizer in the cultivation. So they are not ponds. They are going to be pools, above-ground pools. that will be underneath the pool barn.
And it doesn't smell quite as bad as other types of fertilizer.
Have the applicants used these pools for other projects in the past, or have any experience with that?
Yes, my name is Jose Franco. Yes, we have in other cities, like in Mendocino. We had a project out there that we used them. We also used them in Ukiah.
Cool. Thank you.
I understand there will be no outflow from these pools, is that correct? To other properties?
Correct. They're going to be fully contained. Thank you.
And what's going to be the structural application of putting these ponds in place?
Sorry, I didn't quite get your question.
You dig in a hole? How's it going to be?
No, they're going to be, as far as I understand it, and Joey may want to clarify this, but my understanding is that they are above-ground pools.
That's what it says in the property management plan.
Right,
That's what
okay.
it says in the
Just
initial
wanted
study, is that they are above
Clarification on that. We're not, digging a holding pond.
No, they're not, it's not going to be a holding pond.
Okay.
And then I have another question on, well, maybe it's not a question, but I did want to commend staff on the conditions of approval and putting in, again, since I read too and probably missed the addendum or the attachment, but I'd read the water test that was done in December of 2019. It had some questions around that, but I think that's now been answered. And I do appreciate that in the conditions of approval, that there is the seasonal static water level monitoring that is planned to be done with a check on water both in the spring and in the fall, and keeping records of the water use in that regard. I do want to put in, and I guess while I have Mr. Knoll's attention here too, and I've stated this before, but I remain less impressed with our recommendations or our standards for during times of drought, and would really like to see us boost those. And if there's anything that Mr. Knoll can do in regard to that also, because I know that you consult in the cannabis industry a lot, but some of the items listed in times of serious drought, that we're going to install moisture meters, that we're going to irrigate only in early morning hours and before sunset. These are things that just should occur in farming, in any type of farming, and shouldn't be measures that are considered only in times of emergency drought. It just strikes me continuously as ridiculous. So would really like to see us improve those standards for what we're actually going to do in times of emergency drought. I think those are my questions or my comments for now. Thank you.
I can respond to that comment. The Community Development Department and Director Turner are currently working on revisions to the cannabis ordinance. That would be Article 73, where we would have an opportunity to look at the requirements listed within the drought management plan. So that could be an item that we would look at the time that we do address those issues.
I just have one comment, and this is very general. It's not necessarily just this project. I'd like to hear a discussion at the Board of Supervisors level about whether cannabis is an ag product. Because if it is, then my understanding is the ag ordinance would apply, which means cannabis growers will be allowed to cause noise, odor, and other nuisances that are far worse than the current food and fiber ag production activities create. Just a comment.
I think that we've had a bit of conversation about this, certainly during the plans, that revising our area plans, that it would not be covered in the right to farm. Am I correct on that?
It is currently not covered in the right to farm.
So maybe we need to just work on our terminology, because to me an ag product would be included in the right to farm, but maybe we can call it something else.
Comment is noted. Thank you.
Okay. I do have some concerns about the amount of other projects in a very close proximity. We have concerns ongoing about the number of straws we're putting into our aquifers. And I do appreciate that you not only said how many, but the sizes. That's helpful, because, you know, whether they're for, 1 acres or for 20 acres or whatever. So I appreciate that information. But within a very tight radius, there are a lot of projects. Not all approved, but a lot of projects for a very small radius of aquifer.
I would agree with that. So it just, again, something that we need to do as a county is that cumulative impact for a very high water intense crop.
I think that's the whole point. We are here as a commission, is to view the cumulative impacts of every.
We are, but I don't know if we always have enough information in order to really make a good determination. And I think in the last at least 2 years that I've been on this commission, we've seen the expansiveness of the number in often very tight radius, and it's a concern. And to take a moment off of what Commissioner Rosenthal said, the water criteria was done in 2019, December, which was a very wet year. So just back to, are we getting good information about the amount of water? Not just this specific project, but just in general. Are we, the well test should be in July. See, that's when the primary use of water is, not in December. Anyway, just going forward, just something to think about.
Noted. Thank you, Chair. That would also be an additional item that could be covered under Article 73, where when we revise the cannabis ordinance, and it has a separate CEQA review, where we could look into all of those things and incorporate that into the new cannabis ordinance. I also wanted to take note of Commissioner Field's comment within the vicinity map for approved projects. And what I gathered is that you'd like to see on the map stars or indicators of the locations where commercial cannabis has been approved. Additionally, I wanted to bring to the Commissioner's attention that every year on June 1st, our annual compliance monitoring fees are due for activities at commercial cannabis sites. And it's around this time that we find expired sites due to 2 or more years of inactivity. So while it does seem there have been a significant amount of projects approved to date, we have actually expired out 29 projects recently. So that is something that I wanted to bring to the Commissioner's attention as well.
Thank you.
That's really good information. And if perhaps at a future meeting you could give us, an overall map and show us where those are, it just gives us more context when a project comes before us of how it fits into the current overlays of what's going on. So that's very good information. Thank you.
So I did appreciate in the hydrology report, Ms. Dodd did include a map when she was discussing the various different locations of all the approved projects, and she laid out a chart. And I also, this is for better or for worse in the cumulative impacts, we are relying on Ms. Dodd and the information that is brought before us, and she prepares the report on behalf of the applicant. So we just always, just are we getting a fair representation of exactly what's happening, and I'm assuming county staff is reviewing those reports as well. So yeah, but there's still just a little uncomfort, or at least from my point of view, a little uncomfortableness with the cumulative effect of the water impact. So, thank you.
I'd like to second that. I think I've said this before, but I do feel like we should have the hydrology study done in-house.
I think that would be helpful. And while she does an excellent report, we've seen some reports that are certainly not nearly as thorough as hers. So to rely on that input to help us make an informed decision, you know, we're not always getting quality report, and to Ms. Rosenthal's comment, we're getting it from the person who wants us to approve the application.
If it helps the commission, I just wanted to let you know that a few months ago when I went before the board to see if they wanted an EIR regarding odor impacts, they said no, but they were interested in an EIR regarding water usage in the county. And so that is, it's kind of on the back burner right now, but we'll work with internal staff in this department and water resources to sort of clarify what type of analysis that would look like, and then go back to the board for further direction.
I think that would be helpful, and I think that you have, well, I can't speak for all of us, but 3 of us have said so.
The board has heard the commission's concerns. I think they share them.
Okay, thank you. Let's roll this back. We haven't opened it to public comment, so I will open to public comment. Anyone in the chambers who wishes to step forward, please introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Okay, do we have anyone on Zoom? All right, let's start with our Zoom folks. Okay, please introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, hi, this is Angie Dodd. I was the one who wrote the hydrology report. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. I appreciate the comments. For the projects pending, you know, this was done in 2024. I got the project list from, just to reassure you, I got the project list from county staff. And then the other thing in this area that I've done, which goes above and beyond you were saying, are these the list of projects or not? I don't know if you remember from my presentation to your commission a few weeks ago, I also add all the potential that could occur. So based on the land use estimated, these aren't applications that are in process. It's just based on the land use, how many potential grows could there be, which makes it even more conservative. So it's not just, so the evaluation isn't just based on the pending and approved cannabis projects. It's based on what the potential future could be if everyone decided to submit a cannabis project on the land use that allows them, and how much that could be. So I just wanted to say it's really conservative. And I wanted to point that out, that it's not just the list I get from the county, which, as I think it was Mary who said, changes as people pull out of the program. It's also based on what could the maximum potential be. So I just wanted to point out that it's extremely conservative.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else on Zoom? Okay, please introduce yourself.
Good morning.
You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. This is Margot Kambara. I have 2 comments, and the first is thank you so much for your attention on cumulative impacts, especially when it comes to water availability. And indeed, it makes little sense to use studies that are done in winter when water is plentiful to gauge whether a parcel can support a water-intensive use. My second comment is, in the conditions of approval, yes, 4290 requirements are cited, but they are restricted incorrectly. And that is that the project is intending to make improvements only to internal roads. 4290 requirements, the minimum safety requirements for roads is for the entire road. It makes very little sense to not make that road safe for the neighbors who are going to be impacted by the increased traffic for this road. Pardon?
3 minutes too.
Oh, and we have another commenter here who would like to make 3 minutes of comments as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to address that comment if I could. This access road is only
Good morning.
accesses through
Okay,
this.
just a moment, please.
This
Go ahead.
road only accesses this property. No other properties access this road through it. It's accessed off of Highway 53, which is already a highway that is maintained. And then any roads that comes into this property is only for this property. So no other properties access their properties through this property. I'm sorry, that doesn't sound right, but it's true.
Thank you. So just a clarification, so the one road that is, it will be compliant? Correct. Okay. All right, so second person who wanted to speak, would you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, Chair Tom Lasik. Good morning, Commissioners. I just want to reiterate the 4290 issue as well. If the Planning Commissioner recalls, almost exactly a year ago, Chief Mike Wink presented the 4290 requirements to this commission, and the question was asked about where 4290 applies, and he made it abundantly clear that 4290 applies not just to the internal roads of the project, but also to the roads leading to and from the project. It is frankly disturbing and frustrating to see that conveniently gets ignored and misrepresented over and over and over into the hearings. So I just respectfully remind the Planning Commission that this was brought before this commission by CAL FIRE over a year ago. And the argument that it doesn't apply is actually a misrepresentation of facts, especially since this keeps being reaffirmed over and over again. It applies to the state responsibility area where you have very high fire hazard severity zones. And that's all I have to say on that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any response? Go ahead.
Good morning. My response is still the same, that there are no other access roads. This property is accessed off of Highway 53. No other properties are accessed via this road. This road is only a road that is for the proposed project. There's no other access to other property owners or anything like that. This is a road that is accessible to the property owner, and that's it. There's no other properties that access their properties through this roadway.
And the width of that road there as it enters, I know in our packet we had the one photograph here with the gate that didn't come up on the screen, but what is the width of that entryway?
The existing roadway network or driveway network on the site is in good shape, first of all. And for the most part, it varies between roughly 22 feet and 15 feet. It, like many rural driveways, they're done over time. But what CAL FIRE required and what is shown on the site plan is improvement of the road to a full 20-foot width. So not all of the roadway needs to be widened out, but there are some areas where they are a bit narrow that do need to be widened out. Along with, clearing vegetation, they wanted to make sure that the existing culvert met their weight requirements, which it does. That's also been certified. Let's see what else. Oh, the grades of the roads comply. I don't think there are any turnouts provided because the 20-foot width is being provided for. There's a turnout at the end the 3-point turnaround that's required.
Is there a knockbox on the gate?
There will be.
I will also add to that. So the encroachment off the highway is 50 feet. You were asking about that. And then the driveway is 25 feet. As previously stated, roadway improvements will commence with the grading permit after approval. If it gets approved, if the approval, yeah.
Condition of approval, okay. I just had one quick question. At the bottom of page 5 of the report, not at the bottom, it says, the property has existing vineyards that have been actively farmed for several years. The vineyards operation will be continued and enhanced. I know what enhanced means, but what does it mean? In this particular case, are the vineyards going to be expanded? What is that in reference to?
That statement, keeping in mind that this application was prepared 2 years ago, described the vineyards as in place. Well, the vineyards are still in place, but they're not in great shape for the most part. And they're not technically being actively farmed. I think at the time there was a stated desire, and there may have been some effort being employed with respect to those grapes. However, given the current state of the wine, the vineyard industry, if you will, it's not as rosy as it once was. I think my discussions with the applicants, they have a desire to bring that vineyard back, but that really depends on market conditions. So they're still there for the most part, but not being actively farmed.
Okay, my wonderment was with the water use. And so we say not actively farmed. That's a broad base. So are they being watered and pruned and, no. So.
No. However, the hydrology report, and Dr. Dodd can respond to this, does incorporate the potential for irrigation of those grapes.
Yeah.
And does take that into account as part of the cumulative impact analysis.
Oh, I saw that, but when I saw enhanced, I didn't know whether that meant more acreage is going to possibly be put in, or, enhanced by.
Enhanced in terms of the character and quality and health and vitality, so forth.
All right, thank you.
And final comment that I have on this is I have a concern over the commercial resort zoning of the piece that we're now going to, if we approve this project, be changing that to a non-conforming use as a residential property. So I don't know if there's anything that county staff can say to make me feel more comfortable about that.
There isn't.
I'm sorry, could you rephrase that question, please? I got distracted, sorry.
It's just that I'm uncomfortable with the retaining the commercial resort designation for that part of the property that is now going to, in essence, if we approve this, we're basically approving a non-conforming use of that section of the property to residential rather than commercial resort.
For worker housing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
I
duly
have a
noted.
question for Nicole. Could we make it a condition of approval?
Yes, you can.
That
So
the
what is-
zoning be changed of the microparcel?
I'm unclear as to why the zoning would need to be changed. If it's not an approved use, then it would.
For worker housing, yeah, as residential worker housing, in commercial resort, an area that's zoned commercial resort.
Mhm. And your concern is that it's being used in a manner not permitted by the current zoning?
Correct, because it's currently zoned commercial resort.
But if farm workers are living there and having a really good time,
So the concern is that that the property used for, what's it called? Where you, no, for, so my just so I'm understanding what the concern is, there are lots that are, that allow for the cannabis cultivation use, but one of the lots used in order to allow for, what is it called? Not co-location,
It's not a separate parcel, it's all on one parcel.
So-
It's not used for co-location or clustering.
Clustering, there we go. Okay, so it's all one parcel, both uses are permissible. So the cultivation use is permissible and the resort commercial is a permissible use. But the one being permitted now is the cultivation use.
But part of the project describes use of the existing structure as farm worker housing.
Is farm worker housing allowed under the cultivation use?
Yes, but
Then-
not necessarily in resort commercial.
But it should be.
But they're not being permitted for resort commercial. They're being permitted for cultivation. So whether or not they use the structures on site for one use or the other, if it's a permitted use, then they would be permitted to use the structures for the permitted use.
I think she's asking is that, can we stipulate that that particular section be designated for farm worker housing and not be used for anything other than that?
You know, I would suggest we table this for now because it's recently become part of Lake County 2050 to talk about co-location of mixed use, including residential within resort commercial. That may end up taking care of this conflict, but it is ongoing. So I
Commissioners?
would appreciate just keeping.
As it's presented, I don't see a conflict.
Right.
So if your concern is that the permittee before you today may use the existing structures that I presume were built for a resort commercial use, as a resort commercial use, that is not something for which they are permitted. Is there a concern that there's an existing permit for a resort commercial use currently? My understanding. No?
No.
Okay, so then there is not currently for this property a permission to use the property or any of its existing structures as a resort commercial. They would have to return to the county and your commission to ask for permission to use the property as for any of the other uses that are not being approved today, if you do approve it, under this application. So if it's not included here today, it can't be used as such. It's just the zoning is a potential use for that particular property, not a predetermined permission to use.
So there is no permit allowing for that particular use on that little?
Correct, is my understanding.
Okay,
Thank you for that clarification.
okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Questions?
I think public comment is still open. If we wanted to close that, or
Yeah, no, I just wanted, okay.
I'm good.
Any other public comment from the chambers? From Zoom? Okay. Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Guest, you are open to speak now.
Please state your name.
My name's Angela Emerald. Can you guys hear me? I can't hear myself.
Go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you, Angela.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to start with, as mentioned by some of the planning commissioners, the density of the projects in the area is a concern. I know of one approved project in that area that has had to re-drill their well within the last 2 years, so that's a point of concern. Now, switching hats as the chair of the East Region Town Hall, we did submit a comment letter. We resubmitted it to Trish after the agenda came out and it was not posted with the agenda. We also sent it out to the planning commissioners. I'd like to just point out a couple of things. The letter, it was our comment letter provided to Trish Turner during the CEQA process on the 514 agenda. The letter is missing from the uploaded documents. While the staff report states stage 2 of development consists of no more than 87,120 square feet of outdoor and 20,736 square feet of mixed light canopy, the drawings on page 3, C2 of the site plans show up to 12 greenhouses, processing building, and pole barn totaling nearly 50,000 square feet. The project is, the parcel is designated scenic combining, and we again point out that agricultural processing, hoop houses, greenhouses, and incidental structures are not allowed in the scenic combining district, nor are there any setbacks. The issue of setbacks in the scenic combining district came up during the 4/1/2025 NEMA storm appeal during which Supervisor Sabatier stated he was not able to find any documents showing setbacks. It was brought up again during the 12/9/2025 Poverty Flats appeal and was one of the reasons Supervisor Sabatier upheld the appeal. Regarding scenic combining, staff and the applicant consultant state that the project will not be viewable from the highway. We've heard the same statement during the Planning Commission hearing for neighboring cultivation sites. As we all know, the cannabis cultivation locations in that area are clearly visible from the highway north of the city of Clear Lake along Highway 53. I just want to make sure that the planning commissioners and everyone received the East Region Town Hall's comment letter as it was not uploaded with the documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom?
If I could just quickly respond. I did not see it initially when I initially reviewed the documents, but I did see it and read it today. Thank you.
Hi, sorry. So the inadvertent omission of their comments, we did provide that via green sheet and it was emailed to everybody. And then the scenic combining district was addressed during staff's presentation for public comment.
Thank you. I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the commission. I have a concern just about the size of the project. I feel comfortable with phase 1, and I heard what you're saying about phase 2, but I don't think I gotta feel real comfortable approving 12 greenhouses to be put in place. So, other comments?
I think the location of the project is good, that you can't see it from the highway. I drive by that all the time, and well, now that I know where this project was, I was able to just kind of peek when I was driving by, and it's all hills in that side. Location is good. It's like I said, it's hidden, and the use and the layout of the project is I'm comfortable with the size and the faces. There was a comment that it could potentially stay mostly outdoor. But they do have the options to put them in greenhouses, which is ultimately better because you have filtration systems that would minimize any odors or anything that could potentially bring some attention to the project. From what we read, hydrology reports and the questions from the commission, I personally feel comfortable with the project. So if anyone else has any other comments.
Thank you very much for answering all my questions. I knew the vineyard slightly before, and in my mind, the hydrology issue that always pops up was resolved by that. I think vineyards and cannabis production are similar in their water consumption. Vineyards might use a little bit more for frost protection. I don't like seeing all those greenhouses out there, but as Commissioner Chavez pointed out, I understand that they're going to be out of view from the public, so I resolved that. I think that when there's projects that have a lot of issues that have to be considered, my overwhelming feeling is the rights of the individual are fighting with the rights of the community. And that's the decision that I find difficult. And I'm not seeing a lot of conflict here, so thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, bring it back to the commission for a proposal.
I am prepared to make a motion if there's no further discussion. I move that the Planning Commission find that the potential impacts associated with a project applied for by Global Interactive Solutions LLC, Haiti, Jamara, can be mitigated to less than significant through the implementation of the mitigated negative declaration for the property located at 1780 California State Highway 53, Clear Lake. The APN is 010-055-24, will not have a significant effect on the environment, and that the Planning Commission adopt the initial study PL 25-1, IS 24-11, with the findings listed in the staff report dated May 14th, 2026. And I don't believe we had any amendments to that.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the project. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No. Opposed? No. So it passes 3-1.
I move that the Planning Commission find that the major use permit PL 25-120 UP 24-15 applied for by Global Interactive Solutions LLC, Haiti Jamara, for the property located for the property located at 1780 CA State Highway 53, Clear Lake, APN 010-055-24 does meet the requirements of the Lake County zoning ordinance, Article 27 and Article 51.4, and that the major use permit be granted based on the findings listed in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval dated May 14th, 2026.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Passes 3-1.
There's a note.
Thank you.
There's a note to read at the
Pardon me?
bottom.
Yeah. And the applicant or any interested person is reminded that the zoning ordinance provided for 7 calendar days to appeal. If there's any disagreement within the Planning Commission, an appeal to the Board of Supervisors may be filed. The approved forms and applicable fee must be submitted prior to 5 p.m. on or before the 7th day following the Planning Commission's decision on this matter. So, thank you.
Can I request a 5-minute break or 10?
Let's do 10. 5 is never enough.
Okay,
So we'll do 10.
So
We'll cut-
11:45.
Yeah, 45 will come back and we will continue.
right off of a public road.
Commissioner Field, you need to get back to your spot here.
If I walk out, walking out.
Now that I see that it's counting down here, I can see it nice and easy here. Ma'am?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, it's just gonna be a shorty.
Yep. Quick and easy.
Okay, welcome back. We just have a staff update, and I have just a recommendation or a wonderment here. On our two projects, they were presented to us a little differently in the executive summary, and I like the one that said the Planning Commission will consider a request. It always startled me a little bit when I read the executive summary that they already made a recommendation of how we should move forward. So I'm liking that it's a consider the request for.
Yes, we have made note of that.
Okay. Otherwise, if you already made the recommendation, our work's done here.
No, a recommendation is just a recommendation.
I understand that, but it just is a little.
It's a wordsmithing thing.
Yeah, we've had a comment about staff making recommendations and whether it's appropriate or not.
Yes, this department does usually make recommendations.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I like it at the beginning of this one that was for our first item, the Planning Commission will consider a request.
Mm-hmm. The problem I have with the request part is staff isn't really requesting anything. Staff is presenting an analysis they've done on your behalf, and they are, based on that analysis, recommending a particular direction. But your analysis
at the end.
But your analysis is what the ultimate decision. So anything that comes before you is just a suggestion based on an analysis, and you can ask questions for clarification. You can ask for further information, and then you weigh the evidence. And evidence is broad and includes everything that staff presents, all the comments that are brought to you, all of the materials that the public submits, and all of that, and you weigh it as you see fit, and then your commission votes on it. So it is, technically speaking, a recommendation, not a request, because staff, in theory, should not have preference beyond what.
That's my problem.
That's
is the verbiage
recommendation for approval.
So the word
which is always based on the findings and subject to the conditions.
We understand that. What I'm saying is a recommendation is implying, just by the term recommend, it implies that the staff has an opinion about it.
Well, it should imply that the staff has gone through all the appropriate analysis and is handing it to you as in compliance and supported by the codes.
I understand that. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to say is that instead of recommend, maybe we could find a word that is more accurate.
Noted. Thank you.
All right, we'll look forward to exciting new verbiage. Not aspirational. Okay, so I think
there was another matter that you wanted to talk about regarding how the commission is feeling about having the applicant up at the chairs.
We started out on the last couple of meetings inviting the applicant to come and sit up on the dais. Is everybody still comfortable with that, or what's the thoughts of the commission here?
I am comfortable with that as long as we have some parameters around, like today we had a presentation from the applicant, and I think, it was mostly appropriate, and so it was fine, but we've also had another situation or whatever where it was quite lengthy, and so anyway, so just in working with, it should, to me, a presentation from the applicant should complement and, of course, fill in some of those personal gaps, about the project itself and work in, cohesively with the staff report. Mm-hmm. So I guess I would ask for, staff in helping to guide the applicant and to keep, it time appropriate.
I would like to add that my issue is not about where in the room they're located, it's about equal time. And this is a question for legal, I believe. Is it, in consideration of a project, is it fair to give proponents of the project more time than opponents.
Do you mean, do you mean the applicant versus member of the public?
Correct, yeah, or usually. I mean, I assume maybe there's other places where
Well, because
agency
sometimes
people
members
come-
of the public are proponents as well, so that you wouldn't want to really differentiate on that. But I could I could understand differentiating between the applicant and being a little more, giving them a little more leeway on time rather than the 3-minute buzzer.
In the past, chairs have allowed for extended time and conversation with applicants and their representatives at the dais. If you're thinking about the structure of a hearing, the structure of the hearing is in fact an applicant bringing forth a proposed project and staff presenting their analysis of that project to you. The public provides evidence. They are not a party. Technically speaking, if you want to say that there are parties to a particular item, they are not an opponent as such. They are commenting to provide further evidence for your consideration in relation to a project proposed by the applicant.
Okay, thank you. That helps me understand it quite a bit.
So, a question, do you consult with the applicant if they say they are going to bring a PowerPoint here to show? So perhaps in that conversation, to your point, that you just say you want to keep it sort of within 5 minutes and to complement what you were doing. So I thought that was the very good point that you made about the complementing. And then they will be here to answer questions. Those from the public can step up and have the 3 minutes. And I think that maybe you're referencing there was a time, I don't know, months ago, that someone came up and gave an impassioned history of their family on the property. And that was not really appropriate, even though they were the applicant. So I think we want to tell the applicant, keep it to the facts, that they want to make sure that we don't miss out on the sea of paper that we've been giving to make sure that we get all the points.
Sure. So what I'm hearing is that the secondary presentation should be complementary to the primary presentation, should be limited and brief, and also should be limited to the amount of folks who can speak at that time, and everyone else who is here in support or in opposition of the project should wait until the public comment is open.
Yeah, and I think that would be a nice balance. Does that kind of work for what you were concerned about?
Yes, but I'm trying to figure out whether that would comply with Nicole's assessment. If an opponent is providing information, what do you think?
There are technically not opponents to the permits that are presented to you. There may be members of the public who have evidence that may convince you that the required findings cannot be made. But as such, if you're looking at a structure of your hearing, they're not technically opponents in respect. They may oppose the project, but in as far as presenting the public presenting comments and submitting information, they are providing your commission further evidence to consider when making the findings that you have to make to approve a permit. And if you are persuaded by that evidence, you can use it in informing whether or not you can make the findings that you need to make. And if you cannot make them, the only thing I ask is that if that is contrary to what staff's recommendation or suggestion may be, then you elaborate as to that being why and the evidence that convinced you to go a different direction, because then we have that evidence, because otherwise we wouldn't have your reasoning written down. The report has a reasoning written down. If you follow the report that staff's recommendation gives, then we have a record of those of what informed your findings. But if you don't, then we don't have a record unless you put it on, like you say it from the dais when you're making those findings.
And am I correct also in believing that what we hear from the public, whether they're for or against the project or somewhere in the middle, also supplies us with information that we may wish to make a change to the conditions of approval rather than oppose or vote for or against a project, but it
Correct.
would just be changes that
Yeah.
would help the project.
And I was being extreme on the for or against, but yes, and if anything in between, if there is something that some evidence provided that convinces you that you need more information, or that you think the project, that you could make the findings if the project were amended in a particular way, you can certainly bring that up.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a few minutes? Do you want to do, or do you?
So just in clarification then with the applicant here, just before we move on, like today, we have the applicant and we had one other person here sitting, or I mean the consultant and the owner sitting here, and then we also had a gentleman in the audience.
Right.
So I'm just checking as far as with consensus, so we should just do the presentation with whoever is here, and the referral to somebody in the audience actually goes into public comment as opposed to engaging more people that are out in the audience in the presentation from the applicant? Am I?
So if we were asking like the gentleman that was sitting here for clarification, would that be part of public comment or just part of clarification for us? Is that what you're asking? It's part of discussion?
No, you're asking,
No.
should the person, if he's not sitting up here, be treated as public or be treated as applicant?
Right,
Correct.
yeah.
So in this case here, and I'll just go to specifics, because I don't think Mr. Knoll would mind so much, but he was making a presentation, and then he turned over to the public and engaged the public in some comment. So what I'm saying, I believe anyway, in my opinion, that should be restricted. Anybody who's out in the audience should address that point during public comment, as opposed to being drawn into the presentation by whoever is seated here.
Okay, I see your point. Question?
I think this is a fuzzy line, because I think, personally, I feel that the objective of the Planning Commission meeting is to have a healthy and robust conversation or discussion about the subject, whatever it may be. And Nicole has an opinion.
Back to the structure of your hearing. Technically speaking, this is not a conversation of give and take or with the public. So public questions, unless it elicits a question in your mind, you're not obligated to answer those. Staff is not obligated to answer public questions. They are here to inform you and your decision. So technically speaking, public comment is exactly that. It is commenting, and there is no discussion in that. The discussion comes from the dais between the commissioners. If you are missing information, you would certainly direct staff to come back with that if you need it. You can ask for clarifications from the applicant if you choose. In the past, chairs have allowed applicants in there. Anyone the applicant, including themselves, would like to have speak on their behalf or about the project, sit at the dais or at the table in the middle, and then they are essentially the designated speaker. If there's further information that in the past the speaker has said, I don't have the answer to that, but usually if they're a designated speaker, they do, because that's why they were designated. But if they don't, they say, well, I would have to rely on someone else for that information, and that someone else can come up at the advice. I mean, at the
And that would be
decision of the
public
chair.
comment.
And it would be public comment. So they would be just providing that information, unless they wanted to swap out with the person who was speaking on the.
So is it inappropriate for me to ask questions after someone makes a public comment? Is it inappropriate for me to question the public presenter?
Questions can be asked, but technically generally just clarification questions. What did you mean by your comment? I didn't understand your concern, that type of thing. Is this what you meant by it? That sort of thing. But to have a full-on blown conversation, say for example, a neighbor comes up and says, we've had all of these troubles with this person, or they're the best person we've ever known, and then you get into a conversation about, their everyday interactions and things like that. That's not what comment is meant to be.
For clarity more than.
No, I was thinking more along the lines of, would your concerns about odor go away if we required a filtration system? That kind of thing.
Well, it would be more along the lines of somebody has brought forward to you evidence of concerns about odor. If you weight that to where it also matches other evidence to where you've been led to believe there's a concern about odor, then you can ask staff for further information. For CEQA evaluation, you're going to have thresholds of significance. You can ask for clarification from staff if all of the evidence leads you to believe that there is a concern here still and it hasn't been mitigated to less than significant, or you don't have the evidence for that, or you're not convinced of that. You can ask staff to clarify it further. But the public comment person, it's highly what the neighbor would prefer.
Yeah.
May not be an appropriate condition. It would have to be founded on the findings for CEQA, right?
Okay. I think we're good, and we'll continue on, and we'll fine tune as we go along. So I think we're going to lose a couple folks here at noon. So may I ask that we have a continuance on our chapter 7?
Sure.
To the next time we gather up.
Absolutely. I'm happy to table that. Then if you wanted to move to department update, I just have one tiny little thing.
Alrighty, let's do that.
The administrative office is working with the top person from our interviews on the organizational assessment and fee analysis project that the board requested. It's going to be a 6-month process, and they're going to take a look at the way community development is structured, as well as the fees that we charge, a deep dive. They're also going to be talking to the public and sending out surveys on our customer service and our processes. So we're really excited about this this process. It's a unique opportunity just to make sure that we're on the right path as far as the department goes and how it runs every day. So we're looking forward to it. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. So that concludes our...
Oh, one more thing.
Whoops.
Thank you. Recently, our department and the city of Lakeport received notification that applicants scheduled for planning commission hearings, both at the county and the city, had received scam emails telling them that before their item goes to hearing before the planning commission, we needed them to wire transfer an administrative fee. It was actually a really well-written letter, and I'm the one who was supposed to have signed one of them. So we just wanted to let the public know that we never ask for wire transfers. We don't have any last-minute hidden fees prior to hearing, and we thank the people who did send us those emails rather than succumbing to what was a really well-designed scam. But we do anticipate more of this happening in the future. So we are aware of it. The city of Lakeport's aware of it. It's probably just a matter of time till the city of Clear Lake becomes aware of it. We would never ask for wire transfers. We take credit cards and checks via our OpenGov system, so you know it's real. So we just wanted to let the public know we don't ask for wire transfers.
Yeah. If I could add to that, the email came from, it was sent like it was from the planning commission. So the email address was like planning commission, Lake County, something like that, at usa.com, something along those lines. And it turns out the city of Clear Lake, it was the same way, but it was a pretty, elaborate email that actually, it looked pretty real if you didn't know what to look for. It had all the right language. It looks like they actually pulled it from my staff report for that first item actually today. And it looked very real, especially if you don't know what to look for. And everyone's used to getting emails now about their permits from OpenGov, but our emails will always be from OpenGov themselves, and we will never ask for a wire transfer like Director Turner said. They did post it on Facebook, and I saw it sort of circulating on like the county scanner pages and stuff, so I think the word's getting out. But.
Excellent, thank you. All right, hearing nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.